historic lighthouse, haunted by a mysterious lightkeeper and a mischievous little girl.
She kept looking up there thinking, I know I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing.
From that window right over there?
She saw a young child with long dark hair looking out the window.
We'll go ahead and set up the infrared thermographic camera. Does anybody else smell anything?
Right around in here. Cigar smoke. He smells someone smoking a cigar.
In one of the pictures, there's sort of a misshapen type of a light that doesn't look round like it appeared to me.
A celebrated bed and breakfast whose favorite guests are the spirits of a slave girl and a soldier who loved her.
I saw fluttering from the side of my eye, and I turned around very fast, and there was a soldier.
Well, certainly throughout many cultures, throughout human history, it's been believed that dreams are a way of communicating with the dead. Can you tell me what you're experiencing? Do you remember any imagery?
A man, dark hair, 30s. He was kneeling next to somebody that was laying on a couch.
And an ancient castle fortress, a prison then and now for the paranormal.
It was rumored that one of the former governors had caught his wife in an affair with one of his soldiers and had boarded them up in there and chained them to the wall and sealed up the room. Because when the room was uncovered, there were reports that there were bones found in the room.
All of a sudden I smelled a really, now it's musty in here to begin with, but it was a really musty smell, and all of a sudden it became overwhelming. It was kind of like a rancid smell. I didn't see any way that door could shut.
I went to come back out of the door, and the door had been shut behind me.
3 new challenges for parapsychologist Dr. Andrew Nichols, psychic Jerry Rogers, and technical specialists Jack Roth and Scott Flagg, researchers into the unknown, investigators of the unexplained, the Ghost Detectives. Many say St. Augustine, Florida is the most haunted city in North America. Every street, every building, every landmark is alive with history and memories. In the 16th century, Ponce de Leon dreamed of finding the paranormal here, the Fountain of Youth. 50 years later, his country, Spain, established a permanent city. Shortly thereafter, they built an imposing, frightening, and many say haunted fort. 2 centuries later, in American hands, the city built another haunted landmark, the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Today, the city, its many haunted inns and landmarks thrive, and for paranormal investigators and residents alike, so do the stories of ghosts.
You could walk down any street here and just go back in time and think of all the people that have been here and the history. And the personality of the whole town. It's a very spiritual town. It's wild. It's wild.
A beacon for seafarers, a beacon for ghost hunters. Here you'll find strange sounds, mysterious footsteps, and unusual smells. Long-gone lightkeepers walk the tower. A malevolent phantom haunts the cellar. And a little girl plays in the windows. These are the spirits of the St. Augustine Lighthouse. First illuminated in 1874, the St. Augustine Lighthouse was built to guide ships through the shifting sands of Florida's then busiest port. The lighthouse compound had 3 buildings. There was the tower itself, 150 feet tall with 202 cast iron steps. At its top, a celebrated Fresnel lens. Adjacent to the tower was the fuel house. Here the keepers kept an office and stored the oil that powered the light. And immediately facing the tower and fuel house was the keeper's house. It was home for 3 lighthouse keepers and their families.
Hi, I'm Andrew Nichols.
Celeste Halsema.
Nice to meet you, Celeste.
Nice to meet you.
This is Jerry.
Celeste Halsema is the curator of collections at the St. Augustine Lighthouse Museum, and like most who work here, she's had first-hand encounters with ghosts.
It seems to happen to me and a couple other people quite a lot. I don't know if we're more open to it or the ghosts like us, or maybe they want us to leave. I don't know. Lights will come on in the middle of the night when there aren't supposed to be any lights on, and things will be moved around in the museum when we know we left them a certain way the night before. The cisterns are where they collected water.
At the St. Augustine Lighthouse, most of the ghostly activity is centered in 4 locations. There's the basement of the lightkeeper's house. Here there are 2 large cisterns. Often, visitors feel a certain malevolence next to the cistern on the left. Some say they've seen apparitions moving through the space. Even now, as Celeste guides team leader Andrew Nichols through the basement, she can feel the presence.
Do you still feel the sensation here, or is it?
I don't know, maybe it's just because we've been talking
dissipated
about
a
it.
little? Still there?
But yeah, I still have shivers up my back a little bit. That's the only one that kind of is a little scary to me, that is unpleasant feeling. This is, of course, the oil house into the base of the lighthouse here.
There's the fuel house, also called the oil house. Here, many people have reported the smell of smoke, reminiscent of a lighthouse keeper from long ago.
You smell someone smoking a cigar very, very strongly, standing right next to you practically, it seems like. But there's nobody there. You walk away, you can't smell it anymore.
There's the tower stairwell. Here there have been reports of voices, footsteps, and a bucket moving.
One of the kind of strangest things, I guess, that happened to me was I was in the lighthouse one morning, and there's a bucket in the lighthouse about 3/4 of the way up the tower. So this is the base of the lighthouse here. We were down in the basement, or the base of the lighthouse, and I heard that bucket being picked up. On this landing is a bucket that tourists can pick up to see what it was like to be a lightkeeper. It makes a very distinctive noise. It's not the creaks and groans of an old building. It's not the stairs moving. It was definitely that bucket. That was a little bit freaky because there was nobody else in the tower. There's a young girl that is normally seen here, and she's often seen in the lightkeeper's house. And usually when people see her at night, it's from that window, which is the 3rd one. I came out here one day with a friend of mine, and she didn't know anything about the ghost stories, but I was telling her about some of my experiences in the tower. We came out here at night when it was closed and there was no one else out here. We've been closed for several hours. And I was telling her about the tower, so I was looking at the tower, but she was kind of looking around because she'd never been here at night. And she looked up at the lightkeeper's house and noticed something in one of the windows. And as we continued to walk forward, she kept looking up there thinking, I know I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. And she saw a young child with long dark hair looking out the window. And the little girl looked her straight in the face, their eyes connected. By the time I turned around, she was already gone.
Jerry, if you would start kind of doing a walkthrough. Go ahead and set up the infrared thermographic
At the same
camera.
time, I will take some readings of
The ghost detective team meets before scouting the location. At the helm is Dr. Andrew Nichols, an internationally recognized parapsychologist. He's been investigating ghosts, hauntings, and possessions for more than 20 years. Dr. Nichols traces his interest in the paranormal to the death of his sister in a violent car accident.
For several months after her death, I had been having recurring nightmares about her death. And one night I awakened and looked over and saw her standing in my room. She looked exactly the way she had looked in life. She was completely whole and dressed as she was dressed when she was alive, in one of her favorite dresses, in fact. And as far as I knew, the dress had been hanging in the closet, but I discovered later that she had actually been buried in that dress. That's certainly what stimulated my interest in this field.
Dr. Nichols is assisted by psychic Jerry Rogers, an attorney and academic administrator. Her first paranormal experience was during a childhood seance.
It was my birthday, and I had 3 or 4 little girls over, and we were doing the silly slumber party stuff, and we had started out talking about having a seance, and we started that out, and it got kind of silly. It didn't go very far. And then we decided to try levitation. My dad, silly, decided he'd be the first victim, and so he laid down on the floor, and one of us on each side of him put our fingers under a side of him, and then did the, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and we were lifting him up, and suddenly we looked up in the sky, there he was up over our heads.
All right, looks good here.
Rounding out the team are technical experts Scott Flagg and Jack Roth. Both have been intrigued by the paranormal since childhood. Jack's interest crystallized when he took some extraordinary photographs at a southern plantation house haunted by a little girl and a slave woman. A slave woman who wore a turban to hide her ears that had been cut off by her master.
When I developed the film, there was something on the front porch. There's wrought iron, and in front of the wrought iron there was something coming out of it, and it looked like the figure or outline of a small person with a dark face and like a white turban around their head. It was pretty shocking.
For their site survey, Dr. Nichols, Jack, and Scott will analyze the lighthouse area's general electromagnetic activity. The full spectrum of electromagnetic radiation includes, on the high end, ionizing radiation like cosmic rays, gamma rays, and X-rays. In the middle of the spectrum, there's visible light. And at the low end of the spectrum, there's extremely low-frequency radiation. This is the portion of the spectrum that particularly interests Dr. Nichols. Commonly, these frequencies are associated with natural geologic activity and their consequent magnetic fields.
This is quite strong right here.
Dr. Nichols believes there's a strong correlation between these unusual magnetic fields and paranormal activity.
This whole area is really high.
To measure this electromagnetic activity, often Dr. Nichols and his team use handheld equipment like this tri-field meter.
And this particular instrument is designed specifically to pick up extra low frequency electromagnetic fields. It screens out other types of radiation. So we use this in areas that are believed to be haunted in order to look for unusual energy patterns, which we frequently associate with these places.
Simultaneously, Jerry Rogers, the team's psychic, will survey the lighthouse, fuel room, and keeper's house using her psi powers, her powers of extrasensory perception. She uses no equipment and strives to avoid being prejudiced or tainted by the other members of the team.
We go in separately because we don't want the research team to go to the spots that I've identified as possible hot spots, nor do I want to go in knowing what they've already found, because ultimately what we're trying to do in the research that we do is find corroborating evidence.
Why don't we check the courtyard here first and just get an ambient field reading.
I feel more of a personality residue in this room. A little girl, probably.
That's extremely high.
I think a little girl really liked to play hide and seek in this area right here. It was fun because it wasn't her house. A little girl maybe around 7 or 8, that silly age where it's fun to sneak up behind somebody and say boo and scare them.
Let's check out the gallery upstairs. See what the field readings are there.
There's a bit of a negative feeling here too. Most of it's positive, but I think somebody must have died. I'm getting the impression of a male in work clothes.
We finished our preliminary surveys. I thought we would talk a little bit about what the plan is going to be for today.
The strongest impressions that I got were downstairs in the basement down here towards the stairwell, and then on the, I think it's the second landing of the lighthouse. Those were pretty much the strongest. Also the gallery seemed to be a significant place, probably a place we should check out more thoroughly, kind of halfway in between the center of the room, perhaps.
The gallery upstairs on the second floor?
Top floor.
So those would be the 2 areas that you think we should focus on?
Yes.
Okay.
Following their site survey, comparing notes, the team agrees to target 3 areas for further investigation. Given the frequent and inexplicable sounds in the tower, they'll place audio recording equipment hoping to document EVP, extremely low voice phenomena, a sound recording technique that some believe allow the living to hear the dead.
Okay, it's now 3:17.
Upstairs in the gallery, where the ghost of the little girl has frequently been seen, they'll lay out a table of playful objects, hoping the ghost will move one or all of them. And in the cellar of the keeper's house, noted for both malevolent sensations near the cistern as well as the playful ghost at the bottom of the staircase, tech experts Scott Flagg and Jack Roth will set up a series of computer-monitored sensors and motion detectors. And in both the gallery and the cellar, they'll document any paranormal activity with thermal and infrared cameras.
Primarily, infrared cameras are used at night under zero lux conditions where there's no ambient visible light, and they enable you to see in the dark, basically, by bouncing infrared radiation off of objects.
This is a thermovision camera. For the purposes of paranormal investigations, it measures temperature variance.
For some reason or another, paranormal phenomena seems to be captured quite frequently on the infrared spectrum with infrared cameras.
The darker the color, the colder the area. These entities or this energy, they tend to be colder. With this, we're able to see it.
With their equipment in place, Scott and Jack seal the gallery and the lighthouse and head for the courtyard.
Have you all checked out the bathroom yet?
No,
The women's bathroom?
no. Well, did you experience something in there?
It's, of all of the places at this house, that's the creepy feeling spot.
Outside, strange things are already happening. All the women are reporting a bizarre presence in the restroom.
The geomagnetic field is high there, and there's also a large electromagnetic field surge right here.
Did you go in the restroom itself? Because that's where it feels the strangest.
It's quite high. Right there where the mirror is, for example, still very high. What about in the stall itself? We have to find out what's behind this door, though, and the door is locked. There could be some type of
Imagine it might be
electrical.
an air conditioning duct.
Ask Celeste, though, about the door. Is that an air conditioning unit in there?
It's the breakers.
Discovering a large air conditioning unit, Dr. Nichols believes he has an explanation for the restroom's bizarre sensations. Given its size, the unit is throwing off unusually high levels of electromagnetic radiation. In conjunction with the lighthouse's already established unusually high geomagnetic activity, visitors to this spot may be experiencing a compound effect.
So in the restroom, we have a combination of a high electromagnetic field and the geomagnetic field, which is pretty much natural to the house itself. Just kind of it gives it a doubling effect, I think.
What is it? Check it out.
Then, Celeste Helsema, the Lighthouse Museum curator, has again smelled cigar smoke in the old fuel house.
You still smell it?
No, now it just smells musty.
So it's the same smell that you've smelled before?
Pretty much. It didn't seem quite as strong as in the last time I smelled it in the tower.
So you're not smelling anything now? Does anybody else smell anything right now? Yeah.
And topping it off, Jerry Rogers, the team's psychic, says that while taking pictures down in the basement, she's possibly captured the image of a paranormal anomaly.
When I was sitting down there in the dark, I saw sort of a floating blue light briefly 2 different times. It's not showing up blue on the pictures.
You were taking it in black and white.
I was taking it in black and white. Now
That's
there's
interesting.
almost, that looks like an orb up in there. It's hard to tell because of the brick, and that brick is kind of motley, but that, we can put it in the
Now you
in the laptop and blow it up and see what it looks like.
What Jerry may have captured on her digital camera is the image of what ghost investigators call an orb. Some say they are bizarre artifacts of cameras and video equipment. Others believe these are a natural phenomenon associated with unusual geomagnetic activity. But spiritualists assert that orbs are the basic spirit form, the essence of a ghost.
It was kind of right up in here is where it was. And it seemed to kind of hover in this particular area.
Now, were you in pitch black down there?
I was in pitch black. I had the lights all extinguished. I had the flashlight in my pocket so that it wouldn't reflect any light.
Dr. Nichols, Jerry, Scott, and Jack review their experiments. In the gallery, nothing has moved, no evidence that the ghostly girl has been present. In the tower, the EVP recording is negative, no unexpected sounds.
This is the square waves.
Go ahead and fast forward the tape to the spot.
But in the basement, where Scott and Jack had placed an array of sound and electromagnetic sensors, they're finding some extraordinary correlations.
So you're graphing the magnetic field there?
Right, this is magnetic field, sound level, and also ultrasonic motion detector.
This is 15 to 20 milligauss here.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty high. How many spikes do we have on the electromagnetic field? There's 1, 2, 3 spikes. So there's actually a whole series of spikes. A couple of them between 15 and 20 milligauss.
Can you tell what time that was?
It appears that while Jerry was getting her picture of the orb, the team's sensor array spiked.
This one here was the assistant lightkeeper's.
Even more surprising, in the cistern, noted for its malevolent atmosphere, the motion detector has gone off.
These spikes represent the distance to the back wall of the cistern, which is roughly 18 feet. These deviations in here suggest that possibly another object was closer, maybe 9 feet from the sensor.
So this motion sensor operates on an ultrasonic beam. So that suggests that there may have been something inside the sensor which would have blocked that beam and set off the motion detector.
The team has made some revealing discoveries in the basement, but Jerry has one last question. If a man did die in the lighthouse, who was he?
These are the pictures that I collected from the archives.
To help her solve the mystery, Celeste has pulled some historical photos.
Neither of these seem like the man that I saw in the tower. He seems to be kind of the stature of the man that I saw in the tower. A little bit shorter and a little bit heavier build, but doesn't appear to have any facial hair, and it was kind of a sketchy image of his face that I got.
Unfortunately for Jerry, none of these pictures connect with her ghostly impression. The men don't look like him, and they dress differently. Then, in the hallway, she sees an image that sparks her memory.
This outfit that he has on is exactly what I was describing earlier in terms of the work type pants and the linen type, but a work shirt and the suspenders. Do you have anything else, any pictures that would be closer to that I could look at?
Unfortunately, we don't. It's something that we're working on, that they're trying to research.
Further investigation revealed that the clothing worn by this lightkeeper was from the Victorian era. During that time, there were 2 documented deaths. First, in 1859, a lightkeeper fell to his death while whitewashing the tower. Second, in 1892, another died of consumption. His name was William Harn.
How's the electromagnetic field? Pretty much
For the
nominal.
ghost detectives, this investigation has been extremely rewarding. They've documented the doubling effect of geomagnetic and electrical radiation in the restroom. And they've captured an orb image and shown its coincident effect on electromagnetic activity in the basement and the motion sensors in the cistern. All in all, the evidence supports Dr. Nichols' theory that electromagnetic activity is a catalyst for the paranormal.
I think probably the most important thing is the fact that we've discovered this very unusual geomagnetic field, and that means a magnetic field generated by the Earth itself. So in a way, the house can be thought of as a giant storage battery, amplifying these magnetic fields, and people who are sensitive to them, who come into these environments, experience the ghosts that are here.
The St. Augustine Lighthouse, a home for ghosts and a destination for ghost detectives. Given the history and these new discoveries, it's likely that the sightings will continue, and it seems for visitors and staff alike that they're welcome. At the St. Augustine Lighthouse, ghosts are just a part of the history, past, present, and future.
Most of them don't bother me. It's kind of nice having some of them in the tower because you feel like someone's actually keeping an eye on the tower when no one's here. This is their home.
Castles, dungeons, and ghosts. You don't expect to find all of them together in the United States, but in St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in North America, you have all 3, and a haunted history at the Castillo de San Marcos. Built in 1695, the Castillo was Spain's northernmost outpost in the New World. Its commanding location protected the town, the bay, and the Spanish treasure fleets returning home. Beginning in 1763, the Castillo was briefly held by Great Britain, but in 1821 it was ceded to the United States. In the 19th century, during the Indian Wars, the American military periodically used it as a prison for Native Americans. Plains Indians, Apaches, and Seminole Indians were all held here. Karen Harvey and John Stavely are experts on the Castillo and its ghostly history.
Well,
There definitely is a lot of spiritual activity here because of the history of the fort and how many people have come and gone.
So many people have said they've had both feelings and sightings here inside the fort. There's a thickness that many people report, just a heaviness as they walk through some of the rooms.
The fortress was laid out as a hollow square with diamond-shaped bastions at each corner and a single entrance. Outside, up on the gun deck and the central plaza, there have been ghostly sightings of soldiers. Some are reported active and at work, others dead from unknown injuries. Inside the Castillo, 3 particular areas are the focus of frequent paranormal activity. The best known is the powder magazine. Buried deep in the earth, it was designed to protect the fort's gunpowder from enemy fire. But the powder magazine's lack of ventilation made the room damp and unsuitable for storing gunpowder. The entrance was later sealed with stone, and this has led to one of the Castillo's great legends.
It was rumored that one of the former governors had caught his wife in an affair with one of his soldiers and had boarded them up in there and chained them to the wall and sealed up the room, because when the room was uncovered after a cannon had fallen through the roof, there was reports of roses when they opened up the wall, this overpowering smell and sweetness. There were reports that there were bones found in the room, but nobody really knows whether those bones were human or animals.
There's also one particular storage room noted for ghostly activity. Usually supplies were held here, but during the Seminole Indian Wars, this was a deadly prison for 20 captured Native Americans.
Their leader, Kawakochi, was determined to escape from this room. All of the Indians starved themselves for several weeks and then finally managed to escape through a very small window that was approximately 15 feet off of the ground. The window was 5 feet high and only 9 inches wide, and yet all of them escaped.
Maybe most mysterious of all is a dungeon-like cell next to the guard rooms. To this day, there's little known about it, but to anyone who enters, there's a sense of foreboding.
814 a moment ago. Jack, you go with the electromagnetic field meter.
Using their handheld equipment and Jerry's psychic ability, the team begins their investigation with a site survey. They'll be looking for likely locations that document any of the 3 categories of ghosts. The most common is a residual haunting. It's often compared to a film loop, a memory in the location that repeats but doesn't interact. Then there's what's called a psi projection, an event, a movement that's actually caused by the psychokinetic abilities of someone in the area. Least common and most difficult to document is what's known as a genuine haunting, a ghost that actually interacts.
You seem to have a real entity, a living consciousness without a body that is able to interact with the observer, is able to communicate information to the observer that the person witnessing the ghost wouldn't have otherwise known. These are the cases that are the most interesting and also the most rare. They're the ones that most strongly suggest the survival of the human mind after the death of the physical body.
Somebody was willing to die to get out of here.
How long did it peg out in the other room?
A 1 second transient of over 100 milligauss.
This room feels like just a montage of anger and sorrow and hopelessness.
At 814, I had a spike of 814 a moment ago. This would not be a pleasant place to spend an evening, would it?
Whoever was imprisoned in this area knew they weren't going to be released. Not just feelings of imprisonment and desperation, but torment.
It's 821 in here, 821 milligauss. No, the whole room is high.
The impression of desperation seems strongest right in this area, right around in here.
The geomagnetic field is high throughout this whole compound.
Reviewing their findings, Dr. Nichols, Scott, and Jack have discovered high electromagnetic levels throughout the Castillo. In particular, though, they've uncovered unusually high levels near the guards room and the old powder magazine. Jerry also had a strong reaction to the powder magazine. In general, she sensed trapped people. She also felt something disturbing in the cell near the guards' room.
Those rooms were apparently used as prison rooms, and the one is actually a little bit to the side of the front entrance as you come in the Castillo, and it's way back behind another room, no windows in the room, and that was a room where I just felt very uncomfortable.
Dr. Nichols and his team will set up 3 experiments. They'll place EVP, extremely low-voice phenomena recording equipment, in the storage room that held the imprisoned Seminole Indians. They'll put a sensor array in the powder magazine, and in the mysterious cell next to the guard room, they'll position Team Psychic Jerry Rogers, along with the infrared and thermal cameras.
Well, many times it seems that psychics attract unusual phenomena to them. They have an unusual bioenergy field that surrounds their body, and many times these orbs that we've been able to photograph in the past will be attracted to that field. And if there is an intelligent entity of any type there, she may be able to establish communication with it.
Something else.
Almost immediately, the strange experiences begin to happen.
I tried to take a couple of pictures with my flash. I just put batteries in here yesterday evening, and they're dead.
Yeah, that's fairly typical for haunted locations. They kind of serve as an energy sink and seem to drain electromagnetic energy from batteries and electrical equipment quite frequently.
And all of a sudden I smelled a really, now it's musty in here to begin with, but it was a really musty smell, and all of a sudden it became overwhelming. It was kind of like a rancid smell.
I came over and I just did like that. And as soon as I did, I felt warmth, probably roughly the size of my fist. I could tell that because the warmth dissipated on the sides of my cheeks. I just took one smell, and it didn't smell pleasant. It was kind of musky. And I went back to smell again, and it was gone. The warmth was gone. The smell was gone.
I think I got something in the Indian jail.
Then Jack discovers he's recorded some unusual sounds in the old storage room, the room that was used to imprison the Seminole Indians. No one has been in or out, but on the tape, there's the sound of something moving.
It's only a couple seconds, and it sounds like something being dragged across the floor. It's not a voice.
Well, let's
So here, listen, you have to listen carefully. We'll probably have to clean it up.
So it's about, what, 2.5 seconds there?
It's
it looks
very
like.
brief, yeah. And this is just the lead in. This is like the normal room noise or microphone pickup.
Even more amazing, as Jerry was snapping pictures in the mystery cell next to the guard room, she had a frightening experience. She may have encountered a genuine haunting.
I went to come back out of the door, and the door had been shut behind me.
That's very strange. You talking about the prison back here? Well, we definitely need to check that out. Let me see your hand again. So you cut your hand trying to get the door open?
I must have scraped it on the coquina shells on the wall. I don't see how it could have swung shut.
It's not an easy door to shut, really. You have to put some force behind it to shut it. There certainly aren't any real sources of drafts in this room.
Seizing the opportunity, sensing that Jerry might have been in contact with a ghostly phenomenon, the team quickly installs its infrared and thermal cameras and places Jerry in the cell.
Watch your step here. There's a lot of cable.
You're going to shut the door?
Yeah, I want to shut the door. I want to recreate as much as possible your emotional state when you were in here before. Got a chair for you to sit on over here. Yeah, in the corner. Well, at least you'll know nothing's coming up behind you here. Besides, I want you to be a little claustrophobic. Okay, you okay?
I think so.
All right, remember, we'll be watching you with the infrared and with the thermovision, so good luck. We'll start recording now.
Probably a good idea when you find out if she's seen it.
For 20 minutes, nothing happens. And then Jerry raises her arm. She seems to be trying to touch something. Dr. Nichols thinks she may be waving.
Are you waving?
No, I just saw something there, so I put my hand in it.
Can you describe what you're seeing?
A face right there.
There was also sort of a black shadow that passed in
seemed like it was directly in front of me over towards the wall, not sort of to my right.
Jerry's seen something. A head. A floating head. And then a strange, black, dark movement across the room.
Do you feel that this was a friendly or a malevolent presence?
I don't think friendly is the appropriate word, but it almost seemed like it was trying to be comforting, but was not very successful.
I'd like to see if she can tolerate staying in there for another 15 minutes or so, and see if we can record any activity and see if she picks up any more impressions.
Andrew, can I come out now?
Are you having a problem?
Can I come out now? I think I'd like to come out now, please.
Okay, I owe you a big steak dinner.
Sensing her distress, Dr. Nichols helps Jerry out of the cell. She's still haunted by the sense of a personality with her and a face.
While I was doing that, I felt like something came in and held my hand for just a couple of seconds. And at first it was a very comforting type of a feeling, because I had tried to tune out where I was and that I was uncomfortable being in the dungeon room with the door shut. I had opened my eyes and was looking around to try and get my bearings, and right here to my right I saw what appeared to be a profile of a man's face, just the face. And I had reached my hand out to touch it, to see what it felt like, to see if it was hot or cold. And as I reached my hand out, I couldn't see it anymore. But then when I looked ahead again, then a very dark shadow crossed the room in front of me from left to right, and it seemed to just disappear into the wall. But it didn't have any shape, just a very dark shadow, and it was very quick. And that was when I hit the walkie-talkie and asked if it was okay if I came out.
For the ghost detectives, it's been an extraordinary investigation. Hotspots, bizarre sounds, and maybe most amazing of all, a possible contact with one of the rarest of paranormal phenomena, a ghost that acts and reacts.
I think it's very likely that this is a genuine haunting. I'd rate this as a very important case, and I think it's certainly worthy of further study.
Throughout history, cultures around the world have believed that spirits communicated with the living through dreams. Until now, no one has attempted to prove that possibility. For the ghost detectives, it's a natural, and the most natural place would be a haunted inn with a haunted room, like St. Augustine's St. Francis Inn. It was built in 1791 as a home for one of the early landowners in the region. By 1845, the property was used as a boarding house. Originally, it had just 2 stories, but in 1888, the attic was converted to a 3rd story. Here's where 2 star-crossed lovers met, a soldier and a slave girl. The room became known as Miss Lily's room, and probably no one knows Miss Lily, the inn, and the room better than Beverly Lonergan, the assistant manager of the St. Francis Inn.
Lily got pregnant. For whatever reasons, the family did not like that. And from here, the stories, it goes into many different stories. We heard that he was so distraught that he went up to the room where they rendezvoused, where they met, and he hung himself. And then we heard another story that they banished Lily. And then we heard that Lily killed herself. Also, what we do know is that there are spirits here, and there are 2 that definitely here at the St. Francis Inn.
Countless visitors have seen evidence of Lily and the man she loved. Brenda herself has seen them both, though not just in Miss Lily's room. Brenda saw Lily's soldier lover in the dining room.
I was writing on my ledger, and I saw fluttering from the side of my eye, and I turned around very fast, and there was a soldier right on the doorway, leaning with his arms crossed, very comical, just smiling. He was obviously a soldier. He had a hat that went in 3 points. And he had, I remember seeing shiny gold buttons. It was a very fancy uniform. And he seemed nice. He was comical. And it was I've never seen any flowing images. This is real people. And the image was this fast that I'm not sure, did I see what I think I just saw? And I shut my book and went home.
Brenda saw Lily herself on the second-floor landing.
Walking right past me was the back of a woman, not the face, but the back. And again, very tiny person with very black, coarse hair, carrying either towels or a baby. I saw the back of her, and she went into one of our rooms, which is a suite on the second floor.
So this is the area where you had seen the second apparition at the top of the
This is
stairs?
the second floor landing of the St. Francis Inn. This is Elizabeth's suite,
She went right into that room?
where I saw her go right in. This is the end of the hallway. We've also had some feelings in Anna's room.
Anna's room had some activity in there as well?
Yes, we sure
Yeah.
did.
Actually, the energy levels are high all over the house.
Yes.
But the most active location in the St. Francis Inn is Miss Lily's room itself. Here, there have been apparitions, strange noises, and poltergeist activity, objects moving, things shaking. You'd think it would scare customers away, but many actually prefer this room.
What I think would be a good idea, particularly since there's so much activity here, is maybe we can do a dream survey, a dream monitoring study. Throughout many cultures, throughout human history, it's been believed that dreams are a way of communicating with the dead, and there certainly are many parallels between the dream state and the altered state of consciousness that psychics experience when they appear to communicate with the dead. I want you to lay that way as much as possible so the camera will pick you up.
In preparation, the team sets up infrared and thermal cameras and electromagnetic sensors. In addition, Dr. Nichols attaches electrodes to Jerry's temples to measure her heart rate and brain activity.
Close your eyes and move your eyes from side to side under your eyelids.
Across the hall, Dr. Nichols has set up a control room.
Well, here we're monitoring Jerry's physiology as she's trying to fall asleep, and we're monitoring several different areas. I've got two types of brain waves that are configured here. This is the beta brain wave. That's the type of brain waves that we produce when we're wide awake. And this is the theta brain wave, which is the type of brain wave that we produce both on the edge of sleep to a small degree and in dreams to a greater degree, a much greater degree.
Within an hour, Jerry is in what scientists call a hypnagogic state.
During that state, although we're not technically in a dream state, as it's defined by science, we can have dream-like imagery. She could be experiencing some type of contact with the energies or entities that might be present in this house right now. Why don't we go ahead and wake her up and see.
Jerry?
Yeah. Hello?
Now that Jerry's awake, Dr. Nichols will ask her about her dreams, hoping to discover a connection between Jerry's dream imagery and the haunted history of the St. Francis Inn.
Hello, can you tell me what
You're experiencing?
It was an elderly man. Looked like a man. He was pants tucked in boots, you know, high boots.
In her dream, Jerry has seen a young man kneeling next to an ailing older man. Maybe this young man is Lily's soldier lover. Could he be consoling his distraught father or guardian?
Does this imagery that she's experienced correlate with any real activity that took place in the house, perhaps even in that room in a former time? If it does, and there was no way that she could have known that beforehand, then that would indicate that she was receiving actual psychic information. The ghosts that are here may have been trying to communicate with her through her dreams and describe something about the way they died.
Jerry?
Yeah.
This time, however, the distraction of the electrodes, the cameras, and the general monitoring are making it impossible for Jerry to sleep. Sensing her frustration, Dr. Nichols ends the experiment.
Keep your eyes closed. I want to turn on the light.
Further investigation into the history of the St. Francis Inn by the ghost detectives revealed that the soldier believed to be Lily's lover had an uncle named General Hardy. General Hardy inherited the St. Francis Inn property in 1855. He may have been the soldier's guardian, and given the men, their age, and their clothing, both the soldier and General Hardy may very well have been the images in Jerry's dream. And where was Miss Lily during this event? Had she already been banished? Was the young man, her soldier lover, asking his uncle for the liberty to see her? Was his decision breaking his uncle's heart? That may be revealed in the Ghost Detectives' next visit, their next dream, at the St. Francis Inn.
I think that they really loved one another. I think they loved the town that they were in. I think they loved the inn, and they just like being here. I have never had any negative experiences at all, happy experiences. They might be lost.
St. Augustine, Florida. A city so ghostly, for those fascinated with the paranormal, it's irresistible. A haunted lighthouse, an ancient mysterious fort, and an inn with ghostly guests. The ultimate destination for an investigation led by the Ghost Detectives.